What did you take away the most from that fight? Was it just, simple, you got caught, or how do you look at that performance going forward?
Uh, it was just sort of upsetting. As it was sort of in my backyard. Paris isn't far away from where I live. So I had friends and family out there, and I was excited to go out and perform. Abus is a good fighter, but um, as we've seen after his fight, our level is pretty close, and so it should have been an awesome fight for the fans, and a good fight for both of us to show our skill set. Um, and then I got a toenail through the lip in the first real strike of the fight, which it just sucks.
Yeah.
Not a whole lot to learn from it other than I was trying again in that fight to force myself into a game plan and into a style. That's not necessarily what I do best. And I just need to stop doing that and just not caring as much what my opponent's really good at and focusing on what I'm really good at and how that fits to my opponent's style instead of trying to force myself into a style that might not be as good for me, even if it might be the right call. Like if you could just make a fighter out of thin air and be like, that's a style you should have. It's not necessarily things that are going to work for me as well. And I just need to stick to what I do well and what jives with me.
Absolutely. No, that certainly makes sense. Were you surprised after your fight that he got to fight Sean Strickland? I remember a lot of people are kind of saying like, whoa, he's only got one fight and here he is getting a top 5 opponent.
I know the UFC does a lot with hype trains. Again, yeah, I like Abus. I think he's a great fighter. But I do not think that was a good idea. I've trained with Sean, and he's a nightmare. He's really, really rough to train with and fight with. So I was not expecting that to go very well for Abus. And again, not because he's a bad fighter, but the UFC is a different level. A lot of people forget that you can be a world beater on the regional scene or on the smaller promotions, much as I was, and then you come in and you just sort of flounder because the level is higher. And even if you're at that level, the experience is higher. So again, using myself as a bad example, I mean, I've gone in, I've been winning fights, and usually at a place where I could just sort of ride that out or get a finish because I've broken the person, then I would go and be a little greedy and then lost the fights. And so it's definitely an adjustment that needs to be made. And I think he'll do it. I think he'll be fine.